Hi, I'm George. Recently, there was an objection raised against a video I posted on Facebook and YouTube. You can see the objection on your screen right now. You can read it, and I will keep the objection on the screen most of the time for your reference. By such reasoning, they are saying that the kingdoms of this world do not belong to Jesus Christ. And they are saying that the kingdoms of this world belong to Satan right now. And Satan is the one ruling this world. That's what they are saying. Let's examine and see if this is right. Imagine this. You are reading the Bible and you come across these passages where Satan offers Jesus the kingdoms of the world during his temptation, as mentioned already in Matthew chapter 4, verse 8 to 10, Luke chapter 4, verse 5 to 8. It almost seems like Satan is in charge, right? But think about this for a second. The devil is the father of lies, as mentioned in John chapter 8, verse 44. His entire offer was based on deception and lies. He is claiming to have authority over the kingdoms, but does he really have that authority? Let's take it back to the basics. In Genesis 1:1 and John chapter 1, verse 1 to 5, these verses tell us that Jesus created everything. I mean, everything. Jesus is the one who brought the world into existence and sustains it, as mentioned in Colossians. How could Satan, a created being, ever have the power to give away what already belongs to Christ because he is the creator? The devil might have some influence, but that's not the same as ownership. Think about it like this. Christ has always ruled the world, whether people recognize it or not. After his resurrection, Jesus even said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me, as mentioned in Matthew 28, verse 18. This means that all power, all kingdom, everything is already under his rule, actually controlled by him. However, Satan was trying to tempt Jesus with a shortcut to glory and trying to tempt him in a way of skipping the cross. But Jesus did not fall for that. Now let's talk about these other verses like 2 Corinthians 4:4 and Ephesians 2:2, which calls Satan the God of this world and the prince of the power of the air. What's really being said here is that Satan has influence over those who are spiritually blind, over people who reject God. It's not the same as actually controlling the world itself. He rules over lies, deceit, and darkness. But that's a far cry from ruling creation. It's like a squatter trying to claim someone else's house as his. They may cause some problems, but the house still belongs to the rightful owner. Now, here's another thing. Every human government, flawed as they are still under God's control. As mentioned in Romans 13, verse 1 to 5, it says that all authority are established by God. So even though we see corrupt rulers and systems, they are still operating under God's sovereignty. It's not like the devil has free reign. God uses everything, even flawed governments, for his purpose. But someone may ask, what about Revelations 11 to 15? It says the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of the Lord and of his Christ. Does that mean the kingdoms weren't Christ's before? No, it's talking about the culmination of his rule when it will be fully recognized by everyone that Christ reigns, that Jesus Christ reigns. It's like a victory that's already won, but it's still unfolding. Jesus is reigning now, and as more people come to him, his kingdom is spreading. The devil's power is shrinking. That's what it means, that one day that everything would be accomplished and Christ will rule forever and ever, as he has already been doing it. And you know what? 1 John 3:8 tells us that Jesus came to destroy the works of the devil. This is happening right now as people believe the gospel and turn to Christ. Satan's influence is being pushed back and eventually it will be gone completely. Now, I request you all to also picture this. From the very beginning of the Gospels, we see Jesus stepping into the world on a mission to plunder and destroy Satan's influence. Look at the incarnation itself. Herod tried to kill Jesus when he was just a baby, as mentioned in Matthew 2, verse 13 to 16. But he failed. Eventually, the powers of this world couldn't stop him.
Throughout his life, we see this pattern over and over again and again. Every time Jesus encounters evil, he wins. Let's look at how sicknesses obey him. Every diseases that come across his path, whether it was leprosy, blindness, or paralysis, Jesus commands it and it left. In fact, in Luke chapter 4, verse 38 and 39, when Jesus rebuked the fever in Peter's mother-in-law, the fever instantaneously left her. Can sickness do that on its own? No way. Even sickness is bowed to Christ. And then there's the issue of demonic control. Every disease is caused by demons. Every oppressive force that tormented people because of demons was silenced by him. A whole legion of demons, legion means thousands, fell at his feet, as mentioned in Mark chapter 5 verse 9. They did not have a choice. They knew who the real authority was. Demons fell at the feet of Jesus. Satan tried to tempt many times to stop Jesus from fulfilling his mission. In the wilderness, Satan tempted Jesus to abandon his mission by offering him all the kingdoms of this world if he would bow down to him. But Jesus did not fall for that. Jesus chose the cross rather than fall for Satan's temptation, as mentioned in Matthew 4, verse 8 to 10. But Jesus resisted, choosing obedience to his Father. Later, Satan tried to influence Jesus and tempt him through his dear disciple Peter, who tried to dissuade him from suffering and going to the cross, as mentioned in Matthew 16, verse 22 and 23. But Jesus remained determined to accomplish his purpose to defeat sin and death through the cross. Now, during the lifetime of Jesus, there was this claim that some people made that Jesus maybe was casting out demons by Satan's power. But Jesus sheds that down in Luke chapter 11, verse 20, saying, "But if I cast out demons by the power of God, then the kingdom of God has come upon you." His finger is the finger of God. It's not Satan's permission by which Jesus cast out demons, but by the finger of God. It's Jesus showing the full authority of God himself over every powers of darkness. So Jesus rules even in his life when he was on this earth, and even after his resurrection, and even before he was incarnated. He is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Remember how Jesus told Peter in Matthew 16 verse 18, "The gates of hell shall not prevail against the church." That's because he's in charge. Jesus is a strong man, as mentioned in Luke chapter 11 verse 21 and 22, who binds Satan to plunder his house. Satan has no power to stop Christ from rescuing those who are trapped in darkness. Jesus is plundering Satan's kingdom, and nothing can stop him. Even in death, Jesus rules. Think about this. No one could take his life unless he allowed it, as Jesus himself mentioned in John chapter 10, verse 17 and 18. He says he has authority to lay it down, that is his life, and he has authority to take it back, that is his life. That's exactly what he did. He defeated death, rose from the grave, and proved that even death has no power over him. As mentioned in Revelations 1:18, he holds the keys of death and Hades. So from the very beginning of his life to his resurrection, Jesus was plundering Satan's kingdom. He was breaking the chains of sin, healing the sickness, casting out demons, and defeating death itself. That's why Gospels all point to this fact. Jesus has always ruled, he rules now, and he rules forever. And one day, like it says in Revelations 20:10, he will cast Satan into the lake of fire, completely destroying him. Not just Satan, but sin and death too will be gone, as mentioned in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 26, which tells us that the last enemy to be destroyed is death. Jesus will make all things new, as mentioned in Revelations 21:5, and only the one who rules, really rules, can do that. That is why it is impossible to think that Satan really has control of the kingdoms of this world. And Jesus is the one who's in control always, and he will be in control always. From the moment of creation, as mentioned in John chapter 1, verse 1 to 3, Christ ruled, and every act of his on the earthly ministry proves that the devil might have some temporary influence, but in the big picture, Jesus reigns. He was plundering Satan's kingdom when he walked on this earth, and is doing that even after his resurrection, and he lives forever after his resurrection to rule. Satan does not have any authority in this world. So, as I said, he was plundering Satan's kingdom then, he's doing it now, and one day he'll finish the job completely. He rules. That's why the gates of hell does not stand a chance against his church. So, to wrap it up, the idea that Satan somehow owns the kingdoms of this world is a big fat lie. Jesus created everything, he sustains everything, and he rules everything. Satan might have some limited influence, but that's fading fast. Christ is in charge, always has been, always will be, and that's the truth.